At 11:47 p.m., Mason Reed uploaded what he believed was just another joke, another harmless video meant to make people laugh and forget about everything else. The room was warm, filled with soft LED light and the quiet satisfaction of finishing something creative with his friends. Lena had polished every frame, Theo had balanced every sound, and Mason had delivered every line with that same easy confidence. But the moment the video went live, something shifted. It wasn't loud or obvious. It crept in quietly, hiding behind a single comment that didn't belong. You cut out the best part. It felt wrong in a way Mason couldn't explain. And when he replayed the video, when he paused on that final second that should have been nothing but black, he saw it. A hallway. A shape. And Lena's face, frozen in fear. That's when the laughter ended, and something else began. They searched for logic because logic meant safety. A glitch, a corrupted file, a mistake during editing, anything that could explain what they were seeing. But the deeper they went, the less human it felt. The clip wasn't just inserted. It belonged there, embedded into the timeline as if it had always been part of the video. The timestamp pointed to a moment none of them remembered. The source listed something that shouldn't exist. And the footage itself, it showed someone inside Mason's house, standing silently, watching him without being noticed. It wasn't just the presence that terrified them, it was the absence of memory. The idea that something had happened, something real, and yet none of them could recall it. As if time itself had been edited, and they had been cut out of their own reality, the house felt different the moment they stepped inside. Familiar, but wrong. Like a place that had been carefully rearranged when no one was looking. The air felt heavier, the silence deeper, every corner holding something unseen. The missing light in the hallway, the faint marks pressed into the carpet, the way shadows stretched just a little too far, it all built into something Mason couldn't ignore. And outside that house, the world wasn't any safer. The comments kept coming, faster and stranger, people describing things that weren't in the video, noticing details no one had filmed. And Lena, she wasn't just scared anymore. She was remembering. Not clearly, not completely, but enough to know that whatever they were facing had already found its way into her mind long before it appeared on screen. Dreams are supposed to end when you wake up. They aren't supposed to follow you, to bleed into the real world, to leave traces behind. But Lena's dreams didn't disappear. They stayed with her, repeating the same hallway, the same distant door, the same feeling that something was waiting just beyond it. And now that hallway wasn't just in her mind, it was here, connected to everything they had made. Theo's discovery only made it worse. That faint voice buried beneath their audio, hidden under layers of sound, whispering the same words again and again. Make them watch. It wasn't random. It wasn't imagination. It was intentional. Their videos weren't just being watched, they were being used. Every view, every click, every second someone spent watching brought that presence closer, made it stronger, made it more real. Fear changes everything. It sharpens your senses, stretches time, forces you to notice things you would normally ignore. The knocking wasn't loud, but it didn't need to be. It carried a kind of certainty, a quiet confidence that it would be answered. And when the television turned on by itself, when their own video began playing in a way they didn't recognize, that certainty became undeniable. The figure had always been there. Hidden in reflections. Standing just out of frame. Watching from places the camera wasn't supposed to see. And now it wasn't hiding anymore. It had stepped forward, into their world, into their space. When they saw themselves on that screen, standing exactly where they were, and something standing behind them, they understood the truth. It hadn't just been watching. It had been waiting. Running felt like the only option, but deep down, they already knew it wouldn't be enough. Whatever this was, it didn't move like something you could escape. It didn't follow, it surrounded. Even under bright lights, even in open space, the feeling didn't fade. It stayed with them, heavy and constant. And when the live stream appeared, when they saw themselves from above, exposed and helpless, it became clear that distance meant nothing. They weren't leaving it behind. They were still inside it. The voice that followed. Mason's voice, twisted into something unfamiliar, something wrong, sealed it. This wasn't a random encounter. This wasn't chance. They had been chosen, drawn into something that had been building quietly behind their screens. And now it was ready to take the next step. A morning came, but it didn't bring answers. It never does. The world continued like nothing had happened, like three people hadn't simply vanished without a trace. The evidence left behind didn't fit together, didn't form a story that made sense. And maybe it wasn't supposed to. Because some things aren't meant to be understood. Some things exist in the spaces between moments, between frames, between what we see and what we ignore. And sometimes, if you look closely enough, you might catch a glimpse of it again. A video that shouldn't be there. A frame that wasn't there before. Three faces staring back at you, trying to warn you without a single word. And behind them, that same door. Slightly open. Waiting. Because the truth is, it was never about them. They were just the beginning. The first person to notice it again didn't think much of it. Just another late-night scroll, another random video suggestion buried beneath hundreds of others. The title was almost the same, slightly altered, like it had been copied from memory instead of written fresh. No channel history. No description. Just one video. It was only a few seconds long. At first, it looked like a still image, three teenagers staring directly into the camera, unmoving, silent. But then something shifted. Not them, something behind them. The hallway stretched deeper than it should, bending in a way that didn't match reality. And the longer you watched, the more it felt like the image wasn't being played, it was watching back. People who saw it couldn't explain why they kept replaying it. They just felt like they had to. Like stopping meant missing something important. Something just about to happen. The comments returned, just like before. Empty profiles. No names. No history. All saying things that felt less like reactions and more like instructions. Pause at the door. Turn your volume up. Watch until the end. But there was no end. The video looped endlessly, yet every time it restarted, something small had changed. The door opened slightly wider. The shadows behind Mason, Lena, and Theo shifted just enough to feel alive. And then people started noticing something worse. The three of them were changing. Not physically, not in any obvious way, but in the way their expressions held tension, like they were trying to speak. Trying tone. Their eyes didn't look like eyes anymore. They looked aware. Like they could see through the screen. Like they could see whoever was watching. Sleep became difficult for those who had seen it. Not because of nightmares, but because of repetition. The same hallway appearing behind closed eyes. The same door, closer each time. The same feeling Lena once described without ever realizing it was real. People began waking up at the exact same time, 2:14 a.m. Phones found unlocked. Screens glowing. The video already playing. No one remembered opening it. No one remembered pressing anything at all. And sometimes, just before the screen went dark, just before the video reset, there was a sound. Faint. Distorted. But unmistakable. A voice trying to push through. Not loud. Not clear. But desperate. The more people watched, the more consistent the reports became. Reflections in mirrors that didn't match the room. Hallways that felt longer than they should. Doors left slightly open when they had been closed before. It wasn't spreading like a virus. It wasn't fast. It didn't need to be. It was patient. Just like before. Because it wasn't trying to reach everyone. It was waiting for the right ones. The ones who kept watching. The ones who didn't look away. The ones who felt that quiet pull telling them to stay just a few seconds longer. And once it found them, it didn't leave. Some videos began appearing that weren't part of the original upload. Short clips. Glimpses. Different locations. Different people. But always the same pattern. A normal moment, interrupted by something just out of place. A shadow where there shouldn't be one. A figure too far in the background to notice at first. And always, always, a frame that didn't belong. When slowed down, when paused at exactly the right moment, it revealed the same hallway. The same door. The same presence waiting at the end. It wasn't just connected to one video anymore. It had moved beyond that. It had learned how to spread. There were attempts to remove it. Reports. Flags. Entire threads dedicated to finding the source. But nothing stayed long enough to be tracked. Videos disappeared, accounts vanished, evidence erased itself before it could be fully understood. It was as if the thing behind it knew exactly how much to reveal and when to disappear. Enough to be seen. Not enough to be stopped. And those who tried to dig deeper, those who tried to follow it back to where it started, were the ones who noticed something no one else did. The hallway wasn't random. It wasn't just a place. It was the same one from the very beginning. From that first extra frame. From Mason's house. Which meant whatever this was, it never left, and somewhere, no one knows exactly where, the original still exists. Not the video people find. Not the copies. The source. The version that hasn't been cut, hasn't been looped, hasn't been altered. The full recording. The one that shows what happened after the camera turned toward the hallway. After the door opened completely. After whatever was waiting on the other side finally stepped through. Some say it's still out there, hidden, waiting to be found by someone curious enough to keep searching. And if that's true, then it means this was never just a story. Never just a video. It was an invitation. One that hasn't been closed. One that doesn't end when you stop watching. Because once you've seen it, even for a second, it already knows where you are.